Hey guys, and welcome back to another Legion Remix guide for World of Warcraft. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at the new Infinite Artifact weapon system that will be a major source of player power throughout the Legion Remix event. Instead of each individual artifact weapon getting their own talent tree like the original Legion expansion, in Remix there is one Infinite Artifact tree that's shared across all the Infinite Artifact weapons. The primary resource you'll be using to purchase traits and upgrade your player power is called Infinite Power. This is a currency you'll be getting left and right from pretty much every activity you do during the Legion Remix event. Infinite Power is character specific, so the amount you have to spend is shared across all of your character's artifacts for the different specs. It is not account wide though, so your alts will have to get their own. You will also be able to upgrade the item level of your Infinite Artifact weapon by using Artifactium Sand, which is a consumable often awarded from the activities you'll be doing as well, like quests, Remix specific activities, and various other sources. Now let's get into the good stuff, the trait tree. The initial traits will start by giving everyone a new active ability called Remix Time, which is a channeled ability that causes our cooldowns to recover faster over 3 seconds. We'll also be picking up these traits which will boost our movement speed, health regeneration, resource generation, reduced fall damage, and increased damage to our first attack when entering combat. Once you fill up the initial traits, the tree splits off into 5 different branches: Nature, Fel, Arcane, Storm, and Holy. Each of these branches will have one active ability and 4 passives that will have a unique impact on gameplay when you choose them. You'll only be able to invest in one of these branches at a time, but don't worry, these traits can be changed at any point, as long as you're not in combat. Now let's take a look at each of these branches individually. The Nature Artifact Tree has an active ability called Call of the Forest that summons a stampede of forest denizens that charge forward. Each member of the stampede shields allies and grants 3% attack and casting speed for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times, while also inflicting damage to enemies and immobilizing them for 3 seconds. The passive traits are as follows. Souls of the Caw. Spells and abilities have a chance to summon a flock of eagles that heal allies and damage enemies. High Mountain Fortitude. Once every 12 seconds, you begin accumulating 5% of all damage taken as Fortitude. After 8 seconds, this becomes a protective barrier that absorbs the accumulated amount for 4 seconds. Waking Frenzy. Souls of the Caw grants Waking Frenzy. Your abilities grant you and your summoned companions 2% increased damage and healing for 8 seconds, stacking up to 15 times. Dreamweaving. Call of the Forest calls upon a Dreamweaver that empowers you and 4 nearby allies, causing abilities to recharge 100% faster and recover 10% of your class resource every 1 second for 10 seconds. The Fel branch's active ability is called Twisted Crusade, and it summons a Dreadlord for 30 seconds to attack your enemies. The passive traits are Touch of Malice. You and your minions' damaging abilities periodically apply Fel Touched to enemies. This causes them to burst every 4 seconds, dealing AoE damage to nearby enemies, and it also causes your summoned Dreadlord to critically strike any enemy that is Fel Touched. I Am My Scars. Attackers suffer chaos damage when they attack you. This damage is doubled if the enemy is Fel Touched. This effect can stack up to 5 times. Call of the Legion. When your Dreadlord returns to the Nether, every 5 critical strikes you land will summon a demon to help you fight for 10 seconds. Multiple summons may overlap. Felspike. While your Dreadlord is summoned, the Twisted Crusade ability becomes Felspike. If you use this ability, the Dreadlord will be violently sacrificed, dealing chaos damage to all enemies within 30 yards and applying Fel Touched to them. The Arcane branch's active ability is called Naren's Everdisk, which throws a disc of arcane energy that arcs outward, dealing damage to all enemies in its path before returning to your general vicinity. If you intercept the returning projectile, you throw it again up to 2 additional times, increasing its damage by 30% for each subsequent throw. The passive traits are Volatile Magics. Your critical strikes have a chance to create a burst of magic that damages nearby enemies. Next, you can choose between Arcane Aegis or Arcane Ward. Arcane Aegis channels a shield that protects you when you walk backwards. This shield also reduces your movement speed by 80%. The shield recharges while you aren't using it. Arcane Ward begins channeling a shield when you stand still in combat for more than 4 seconds, absorbing damage until you move. Temporal Retaliation. When you absorb damage, you inflict arcane damage back to the attacker and reduce their movement speed by 20% for 3 seconds. Arcane Inspiration. When you catch and return Naren's Everdisk, you apply a shield to yourself and up to 4 allies. If you catch the Everdisk 3 times, you gain Naren's Blessing, increasing your haste by 30% for 10 seconds. The Storm Branch's active ability is called Tempest Wrath, and it does pulsing AoE damage to enemies around you within 8 yards. Each enemy struck grants you Growing Tempest, which increases the damage of the Tempest Wrath by 5%. The passive traits are Terror from Below. Your abilities have a chance to cause a behemoth from the deep to strike your enemy, dealing damage that's split evenly between all enemies near the target. Next, you can choose between Storm Surger or Brewing Storm. Storm Surger, you may now move while casting, and moving generates electrical energies around you for 6 seconds, periodically summoning lightning strikes to damage nearby enemies. Brewing Storm. You may now move while casting, but while standing still in combat, you generate stacks of Brewing Storm. When you move again, Brewing Storm will damage nearby enemies. The more stacks you've accumulated, the more damage is done. Thunderstruck. Gain 3% haste and 5% movement speed for each enemy struck during Tempest Wrath. This effect lasts 15 seconds after Tempest Wrath ends. Churning Waters. Every 2 seconds while Tempest Wrath is active, an orb will appear nearby. Collecting this orb will extend Tempest Wrath by 1.5 seconds. And finally, we have the Holy Branch. This branch's active ability is called Vindicator's Judgment. Call down a beam of heavenly light that follows targets, dealing damage and healing allies every half a second for 10 seconds within its area. You also become Lightforged for 15 seconds, which empowers all other light traits. The passive traits are as follows. Light's Vengeance, your spells have a chance to heal a nearby ally and do holy damage to enemies within 6 yards of them. Lightforged status doubles the healing and damage of this trait. Flight of the Valkyr. When you use Vindicator's Judgment, up to 5 nearby allies are blessed to be guarded by Valkyr for 8 seconds. While guarded, fatal attacks are instead intercepted by the Valkyr and heal up the target to their maximum health. If this effect is triggered, a debuff will prevent it from happening again for 8 minutes for that player. Zira's Embrace. When you fall below 40% health, you become Lightforged and damage taken is reduced by 80% for 8 seconds. Can only occur once every 90 seconds. Imperial Orders. After using Vindicator's Judgment, the ability will transform into follow-up abilities. Enter the fray as the first, and it will cause you to rush forward doing damage to enemies in your path, then it will become Lightbound Passage. Step into a beam of light that deals holy damage and heals allies within 6 yards, and it teleports you backwards. Additionally, while you are Lightforged, Echo of Light will spawn motes of light that damage enemies or heal allies within 60 yards. As I said before, you'll only be able to be spec'd into one of these branches at a time, but that's not the only way you'll use these passive abilities from all the branches, because in Legion Remix, your gear, specifically jewelry pieces, will have the same passives attached to them. So for example, you could be spec'd into the Arcane tree and have a piece of gear with the Storm Surger trait that lets you move while casting and makes lightning strike nearby enemies periodically. Additionally, the gear pieces stack with the passive traits, so if you want them to empower certain traits even more, you can do that, or if you want to use multiple traits from different branches, you can do that too. At the end of the Infinite Artifact Tree is a stacking trait called Limits Unbound. Once you max out the tree, you'll be putting points into this trait that grants 1% versatility and increases your primary stat and stamina each rank. Despite its name, this trait will max out at 999 stacks. But it'll be pretty difficult to reach that limit even if you're grinding that infinite power, so we'll say it's effectively limitless. And that just about wraps things up for this video. While I got a lot of this information for this video from playing the beta, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Wowhead's in-depth guide on the Infinite Artifact weapons. It goes into much more detail than I was able to in this video, so if you're looking for a deep dive, I put a link to that page in the video's description. Definitely go check that out. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider leaving a comment as well. Subscribe for more content, and until next time, see ya!